And you know, when you do that, you irritate the shit out of the judge. He gets tired of
Test.
Yeah,
So,
pick and choose your
okay.
times, man.
So we'll
They don't
see you
even count.
tomorrow. Be here tomorrow, 8 o'clock in the morning. We'll continue.
Courtroom 1.
Courtroom number 1.
Tell them where this is at.
Okay, it is
350 2nd Street.
350 First Street,
Okay.
right next to Broadway. And you can take the subway, get off on 2nd Street and Broadway, and just walk right on over here. 8 o'clock in the morning, we start. We don't know how late it's going to go. It could go to 9 o'clock at night. It could go to 7 o'clock at night.
Cut off the lights.
Okay, they cut off the lights at 7. So we have the 81-year-old Marine veteran, war hero, Judge Carter, coming all the way from Orange County just to kick the city to get them into gear.
Orange County?
He's from Orange County. He's based in Santa Ana at the Reagan Building. He comes.
Tell him what he said about the schedule and not delaying.
So the little lawyers that the city just hired from Gibson, Dunn, and Crutcher, is one of the most expensive lawyers in the country. They wanted to know if they had till June the 30th to answer, and he said at the end, well, counsel, I'm going to discuss this tomorrow. You better move your time frame up. You better move your time frame up, because we're going to be moving faster, but I'll discuss that tomorrow in more detail.
Tell that Saturday.
It might go into Saturday.
The judge said
It may.
he's ready to go late at night.
Right.
He said, I think, to midnight and Saturdays. I think the judge said, well, he was ready to go to midnight. He only found out today, while he's in court, from the guy who runs the building, that they have to turn off the power to the courtrooms at 7 o'clock. So while we're in court, he stops the questioning while he's talking to the guy that runs the building, told them all to be quiet, finished the conversation with the guy that runs the building, says we'll be out at 7, and then tells these people you better get ready for an accelerated program. Because as we know from the last time, the city has been doing everything they can to keep Bass and Marchese and these other guys from testifying by delaying, because there's a potential by overrunning the time, which is what Wayne was referring to, in an attempt, in a sideways move, to get this judge off the case. Because when you looked at the faces of the attorneys at the end of the day, those 33 guys on the other side, they had to go to the head real bad. And the 3 on the other side had big smiles on their faces. And the bald-headed dude that's the full partner for Gibson, Dunn, and Crutcher, that runs this complete section for Gibson, Dunn, and Crutcher, went ballistic with the judge over the people in the audience, because they're homeless people that are sick of this shit.
Homeless people in the audience watching the
Yeah.
Tell
So,
them about who's in the audience, because they can't hear you. They
So-
can't hear me either, but tell them who's in the audience.
so what we're doing is, homeless people are invited to come, but they've had no voice. So what the 3 of us have been doing is organizing the homeless people, because we have access, and we're going to get the full stories unvarnished to the judge. We have, what, 5 or 6 people now between us, okay, today,
That's right.
of homeless that we organize, that have our contact. And they have a lot of people that want to tell the stories, and they want to, the homeless people want to have an influence on this case, because it's actually about them. And this case should not be decided without the people who are actually being affected and screwed, and lives ruined and killed, because I've had a friend die from fentanyl, and their property stolen was worth $550,000. And to let you know, these filthy pigs have budgeted to take, by eminent domain, 500 pieces of property over 5 years. I have it in their big printed budget, and I might have the only one on the outside. Now, the lawyers that are taking on the city have obviously been doing their homework, because I thought that some of the stuff that I saw today, I'm the only one that's seen it. But I'm seeing documents they're pulling up that I didn't know anybody else knew, and I'm going, yes sirree, this is pretty fucking cool. And the three of us here got shit going with law, so the three law guys in our group are here. And Wayne, he practices in federal court all the time. And he gave this lawyer some clues, and this guy's face lit up. So this game is changing, and we're watching the stuff run in their pants. And it hasn't even started yet. But you can watch. They know something big is coming down on their head. And they got itchy rears like you've never seen.
Explain how they haven't even yet covered the money part.
Well, what we learned today, which is really important, is I think because of what Wayne and I and Herman have been doing over the last 7 years, because we have all three of us documented back 7 years on video, right, Wayne?
Yep.
I got the videos. And I have my written presentations. And, well, I burned through a laser cartridge. That's how many documents I printed, okay? Like 4 reams of paper and a laser cartridge, if that gives you an idea how much shit got done. And that's just a part of what I got. Oh, and I forgot, there's 14 gigs on a hard drive too, on a flash drive. So that converts to how many pages of paper, people?
We had witness testimony from a woman that was building temporary shelters.
Oh yeah, she was building temporary shelters, but what she revealed is how the big money is stolen, and she doesn't even know she did it, and I was the only one that spotted it. Henry was sitting there, and he's watching me run the numbers, right, Henry? And I'm running the numbers, and the real numbers are out of control. That's our favorite attorneys. We'll see you in the morning. What a great show of legal expertise. Yes, sir. There's nothing like watching a professional court and judge, not a garbage ass superior court with a real judge and attorneys that can ask some real questions. Damn. And then to watch the other fools just make fools out of themselves if you know what the fuck you're talking about.
Explain how that one bald guy was objecting to everything, even if he farted the wrong way.
Oh, this, I think, is one of the biggest legal mistakes. And I don't know, Wade will probably back me up. The worst thing you can do with a judge is bitch at everything. They expect you to pick and choose the most important items. Like at federal court, Wayne, don't they limit you how many pages you can submit in filings?
Skinny blonde lady, they had skinny blonde lady attorney. She objected probably 300 to 400 times.
At least.
And
Every
she
question.
won 4 of them.
First, let's go into how many attorneys they rotated through. Because you missed some of them. When Henry and I were that total, we watched 4 or 5 attorneys. First, the bald guy who's a full partner and runs that division. He was losing. So they go to a little break, and they rotate, thinking they're going to get somebody else that might be able to bang, and hook. And that didn't work, so another break comes up, or maybe lunch, and they switch to another one. And that didn't work, and then they switch to another one. So these people are just grabbing at straws because what's the old thing? When you ain't got nothing to say, pound the damn table?
And then the best part, the deputy director for homelessness, who probably makes $500,000 a year, said
Oh, that woman, yeah.
she skimmed the audit of homeless services. Not read it, skimmed over it. She
Didn't even
skimmed.
read in detail the
Skimmed.
section on her particular part of the
All right,
agency.
skimmed over. But the most important thing in the
'Cause
audience,
that's how important it was to her.
they had a homeless guy, a black homeless guy in front, and he had this little juice he was drinking, like a pickle juice, and he would hold it up in the court with his hand and wave it. And he did this for hours. So that meant the black attorney, who's the partner with Gibson, Dunn, and Crutcher, got up and said, "Oh, hey, fuck this.
He went ballistic.
So he goes up to the judge and starts talking to the judge about all of this
And not
stuff
mild
going
mannered.
on into the audience. So they brought 3 more marshals into the courtroom, and the guy kept waving his pickle juice. And finally, Carter pointed at him and says, "Okay, hey, now you know to stop doing that." And he says, "I'm sorry." And he put down his pickle juice packet. He waving his pickle juice packet all the time when a good question was answered. All right, so this is what you got. This judge does not give a fuck about protocol.
No, he cares about protocol.
No, what he wants to do is get this hearing done so they can decide if Bass and 2 city council members can be forced to take the stand.
Yes.
And it looks like it's going to happen. So
It might happen tomorrow.
So if it does, you're going to sit these criminals down in that chair
Under oath.
under oath, and what are they going to do? They're going to take the goddamn Fifth Amendment.
Instead of
Now you watch this. They're going to take the Fifth Amendment because they're under criminal investigation by the FBI, the DOJ, and a special task force. So Bass, who we call Jackass Bass, all right, is going to sit the fuck there, the big mayor, and she's going to sit in that chair, and she's going to say, "Okay, what's your question? Did you launder money to nonprofits?" Well, my counsel, on the basis of that question, I can't answer that, as it's likely to possibly self-incriminate me. All right, and that's what she's going to do. If she gets called, she's going to take the fucking Fifth. All right, because she's a fucking coward. She's a chicken shit. All right, and they've been stealing homeless money from this city for 20 years. Okay,
And the attorneys will tell her to take the Fifth.
And of course the attorneys are you kidding me? If she's on there and going, "Okay, when you read our audit, did you realize that this was a disaster? You said that at your State of the Union address." Yeah, they says, "Well, Mayor Bass said that this is a complete disaster." And her deputy mayor wouldn't admit it. He wouldn't admit it. They says, "Do you think it's a disaster?"
So we got to ask you.
And so they're going to ask the mayor, "What did you mean by that? What did you mean it's a disaster?" "Well, on the basis of my counsel, I can't answer that question." And they're going to sit there and tell that
I
judge,
don't know what the definition
"I'm not going
of
to
that
do
word
it.
is."
I'm not going to do it." They hire lawyers on every fucking thing, and they go into closed session. And so what they do is they get lawyers and they hide behind a shield on closed session. The reason they do that is so when we go to court here, and that attorneys go to court, and they ask questions about what happened in there, it's privileged. And this is how they hide behind lawyer privileges that are supposed to protect innocent defendants.
Explain the bullshit with closed session rooms and who's in it.
Okay, so one of the things they do in this closed sessions is they'll have a public meeting. It has to be a public meeting. And they will
Recess.
kick the public out of the room using police officers violently if necessary. They will shut the doors and lock the public out.
And let's put it this way. It's proper to go to closed session.
Yeah.
They have to be, to have it legal, to have it actually a closed session by the legal definition, it can only be them there. Now the public can wait outside because when they're done, they must open the session, open the meeting back up, right, Wade?
Open it back up.
And they must tell the public what their final determination was, but they do not have to give one word of their reasoning or who said what, just what the determination was on the point that the closed session was about.
Right. So
Am
what
I
they
correct?
So what they do The city council members are the client. The city attorney is their attorney. But they'll have outside attorneys. So a bunch of people will walk in there. It could be 20 people in there, 30 people in there. But one fucking thing that they do is they have staffers in there. They have police officers, sergeants in there. And they have other people in there, like people from the controller's office, that are not part of the parties. And what do? Many people have been listening to all of this behind the scenes shit
Who aren't primaries.
that aren't primaries.
That's the important part.
And they've been leaking it out. And they've been doing it for years. These sergeants, they blab.
Because they're not
Okay,
sworn
right.
as government
Yeah,
officials.
right.
So they allow people who don't have the proper status, legal
Yep,
status, right,
Yep.
to be in the meeting, which breaks the status of
Right.
the privilege.
Right. Because what happens is if you have people in those meetings and you have people that are not essential to those meetings, that have no purpose to be in those meetings. A translator, yes, you can have a stenographer, but bodyguards, secretaries that aren't taking notes, no. Well, these guys have cops, they got everybody in there. They just kick the public out. And so then they may be possibly violating their confidentiality because they have been leaking that information out to the public.
Tell them
You-
what that phrase is.
You know, you violate the privilege. You vitiate the privilege. So you got sergeants that are doing security, that are in that room, watching and listening and seeing heavy stuff sometimes. They've had fights between, they've been talking. Oh, Monica Rodriguez had a big shouting match. So, you know, they're talking about it. But how much is that information worth? If you're a cop and you're in there providing security and you're hearing all of this shit, you can sell that information. And that information could be worth millions of dollars. Has that been going on?
And people's lives.
Has that been going on?
Even worse, the money.
And so that's the fucking problem. That's why what they're doing is wrong. And they don't give a fuck. And they're sloppy. And another thing they do is they have a special meeting with Mayor Bass, 4 council members. It's called the Executive Employee Relations Committee. They hold it in the back of the chambers outside of the public view in a locked room. They have to let the public go in and speak. The only way you can speak is you got to knock on the door and pound on the door and get the sergeants to open up the door and walk you all the way to the back of the chambers. And what they do is they discuss and they vote on salaries on high-level officials, including the head of this homeless services. So they appoint the person, the salary negotiation's done in complete secrecy under closed session. So the city council doesn't
That's
vote on the
normal.
salary. No, it's not. See, the city council doesn't vote on the salary. The salary is set by the mayor and that secret committee.
Oh,
I've asked for records of it. The city attorney provides no record of it. They don't even keep speaker cards. They don't even keep a list of people who spoke,
that's against the Brown Act.
okay? All in fucking secret on these salaries.
Is that similar to the meeting that mayor had one day at City Hall at about 8 a.m.?
Right. Yeah,
Just tell us about that.
9 o'clock in the morning. So 9 o'clock in the morning on a Friday morning before the city council meeting, the mayor shows up and walks in the back. And then 3 other city council members join her.
You can keep talking till they're-
Then 20 staffers show up. Then 5 attorneys come in. So you got a room back there packed with close to 50 people in the room. That's the closed session. And what's on the subject? Union contracts, union salaries, high-level positions, including the head of DWP and her salary, Animal Services Department, Homeless Services Department, and they set those salaries there, outside of the
Is
public.
that what they did on this $27 an hour? for
So they
the-
did it.
Okay,
Yeah.
the recent one, right?
So, right, they negotiated the pay increases in that secret session. So they do all of this shit, they vote on it, it's in secret session, and the public doesn't ever fucking see it in the regular meeting.
Even that one Mayor Bass meeting was not advertised
Yeah,
I didn't see it.
yeah. So then
And
they
have to post 72
now
hours.
now
Unless it's an emergency.
an hour later they hold the regular council meeting, which is on TV, and they spend an hour to 2 hours handing out certificates and awards and making presentations. Then, after that, they make the public wait to speak 1 minute. This is what they
don't
do.
allow us to speak on issues
Yeah, this is what
as is proper.
no, they don't.
And 5 years ago, when I was doing this all the time, when an issue came up, say you could speak to 3 issues, okay?
Right.
When that issue came up, you would make your comment while they're discussing that issue, not at the end with all of the rest of them mixed in.
They changed it.
Public comment was a separate issue at the end of the meeting without combining it all. Now what these fools do, depending on who's there and how they want to pervert it, as we just went through recently when I handed them all these documents that created a lot of this nightmare
Right.
we think right now, is they prevented Wayne and Armando Herman from speaking because they changed the public speaking rules depending on who's there and what they think might or might not happen by going to what they call random picks. But there's no, and we were talking about this earlier
Randomizer.
about mathematical algorithms.
Yes, explain the randomizer.
The randomizer.
Yeah,
Okay.
You explained this.
So what it is the city council has a thug city attorney, and there's 3 of them. And so they started to go to this excuse where people were signing up with multiple names to get a better chance to speak.
Like you guys.
So then they were not calling these regular people. They were only calling people that were there from a union, a lobbyist,
They pick and choose.
or the ones they want to speak, the ones that are going to make them look good. Okay? And they claim there's a randomizer, that all of the names equally go into this little
There's one other
randomizer.
thing, and that is that they put a 20-minute time limit on.
Right,
So this is an open-ended.
right, open ended.
They only have to control 20 minutes of who they want.
Yep. 20 minutes.
Okay, go.
So
I just
now,
want to make sure that point's in.
so now I do a public records request. Show me the randomizer. I want to see a picture of it. I want to know what the software you're using is. I want to know who runs it. They came back. They have no records or any information regarding the request. They won't tell you.
In fact,
Okay?
I've asked them.
Yeah.
They asked me what issues do I want to speak to, and I've said to these fools, well, don't you know it's supposed to be on your screen? We typed it into your computer.
Yeah.
They don't even know. So if they don't even know what you're there for, how could they pick through a randomizer if they don't even know what to feed into the randomizer?
What can a reasonable person
Well,
infer from the agency state there are no such records as to the existence of the randomizer?
it's cover up. Why?
They're hiding their illegal criminal activities.
How can they
and
possibly?
how they pork their friends
Yeah.
and preventing anybody, especially from learning, follow the money.
Yeah. How can they not know when the guy says at the meeting they're using a randomizer? He's saying what the procedure is.
And he's the city attorney running this.
And he's the city attorney running it. That's who I asked directly. And they're saying we have no records. Okay? It's a complete cover up pile of shit. All right? They will not, they still, so they won't show it. And the city is ran that way.
For a long time.
The city is ran where the public is shut out of every decision. They pack the meetings with people with matching T-shirts that are their friends. They hog the meeting up with presentations for friends and campaign donors so that the rest of the public can't speak. They used to have a call-in feature. They got rid of it.
Do you know who started the call-in feature? Beverly Hills. Had
Beverly
it
Hills.
For maybe 15 years back.
Explain what you mean, Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills.
Well,
City Council.
I learned this after we stopped Measure J, which is maybe $90 billion for MTA. And what we did is I organized the African American inner city down Crenshaw and the east side over by Roosevelt. And then what nobody could ever believe politically, we combined the poorest people with Beverly Hills because they all had the same problem with MTA. When we saw MTA flip off Beverly Hills at a major meeting, packed at an MTA hall. You seen that place? It's big, baby. And when they told Beverly Hills to fuck off, I went, you never see anybody move so fast towards those people in your life. My friend at the time, Damian Goodman, he'd have been there at the same time, only he was over on another side. So we both raced over there, and that's how we got Beverly Hills involved. And with $23,000 in 2 weeks, we stopped a bond. So people, don't tell me you can't do this stuff. A part of what we're trying to do is show people that you don't have to be wealthy. You don't have to be powerful. But you better have your stuff together, and you better use your head, and you better have some knowledge of the law. And the more people you can organize, the better. Because we had larger organizations before they started killing people off over at LAUSD. We had a powerful, knowledgeable organization taking them on their bonds and stuff. And the same at Playa Vista and the Toxic High School. We had one of the top oil and gas engineers in the world with us. When we took on them buying these rotten buildings, my friend brought in the top construction guys on buildings in the world, Astani. In fact, this happened just before 911. Astani, one of the guy that they called in on 911, okay, had committed to working with us for free. Then 911 hit. Well, you know where he had to go. But that's the level we were working at. And there are people out there who gives a shit, you know, who have money and expertise, a few. So if you get that lucky, it's great. But even without that, I've proven it through 50 years, you could do a lot without money. But you better have your act together. And you better know how this system works.
The core theme of everything is corrupt government, correct? That's what people always...
That's what the bottom line to this is.
Is what? Corrupt.
This is the opening to the can of worms, and I'm going to get more specific here. I'm a lifelong Democrat, okay? I was a little Nazi when I was young because I was around that kind of shit, okay? But then they taught me to think, and I lost religion, and I stopped being a Nazi, and I went into civil rights for the last 60 friggin' years. Right now, because of my work, I'm being refused having a kidney removed that I need to have removed. My blood platelets are so low because they poisoned me when they locked me up in their funny farm. They gave me kidney failure, dramatic blood platelets loss. I almost had to be transfused 2 weeks ago because of these fools. Last night I got cut. I bled for 5 hours. They've run me out of medication. I've had UCLA, USC, and Cedars-Sinai refuse to help me with my kidneys. I can die, and fuck it is what I say. I'm gonna die with dignity. If they don't take care of me, screw them. We're gonna be here and stop these people because you must be committed. And I'm not asking other people to be this committed, okay? But if you have kids, you don't want your kids growing up in an evil world nor we're looking at right now. So some of you are going to have to take some risks so we can have a reasonable world where we have a society that doesn't kill everybody off. And if you're paying attention to microplastics, I'm done buying anything comes out of the ocean.
Explain what the
Go read the latest National Geographic, people.
Explain the difference in a case like this time around versus others. The difference between Judge Carter. Explain how he has gone to Skid Row himself.
Judge Carter is an amazing judge. And actually, federal judges, and I think Wayne could easily verify because he lives in federal court, but he's seen enough of Superior Court also. They don't put up with any bullshit. Remember that show, Jack Webb, Just the Facts, ma'am, Just the Facts? Well, this guy's 4 years older than I am. What do you think he grew up? He watched Jack Webb too. I can't forget it. You know, Roy Rogers. What do you think we watched as kids? We didn't watch this goofy crap they're watching now, all this violent, killer-ass, stupid crap. We didn't have no phones to play with. Hell, we didn't even have ballpoint pens, man. I see these people go, oh, you like I did today. Huh? How do you do that with a calculator? I don't need a calculator. I don't need a damn computer. It's just a tool. You can't live without it. I don't need it. It just helps me. Can I do my work anyway? When I started, there was no such thing. There was no internets. I had to go Pike County annual financial reports with cash from across California. You couldn't pull nothing down online.
Explain how nobody has even interviewed the people from Skid Row
Oh,
and who've been part of these programs.
okay. This is getting to the point of what the three of us have been working on here. Homeless people were asked to be here by some of those that brought the suit. Okay, they're in court, but their voice is not on the record. By what I do in organizing, I always know that I'm going to run into somebody if I'm prepared, and I did. I ran into the connection from hell all the way to the top. So we're getting the documents in, but what really bothers all three of us is the people that this is all about, whose lives have been ruined, the homeless. They don't have a say in this. They don't have a part to this right now. They're just sitting in the audience. So what we did starting the last time we were here and finish it off today by giving everybody our ID, our contact, to make sure we get the straightest stories that we can get from the homeless people. We're going to have the homeless people go to the people that they live with, who trust them. Isn't that the word they were using all day today, guys? We got to build trust. Well, nobody's going to trust those fuckheads. Okay? But they trust us. So we have them going to the homeless to get written down and recorded the personal stories over time of how they got there, how they've been abused, by them blowing all this money away, by not housing and giving services to people, what that's done to their depression, to their psychological, to their physical, to every part of their life. And it's tragic, okay? And because I have this contact, we're going to be able to get these real, true stories into the record on multiple federal high levels. So this is a real story. That what they do in this court about these technical issues is about nothing other than what happens to these people's lives, because those people don't give a shit, because they're porking their contractor friends, and they're starting to figure out that I got their money game wired like a bitch from hell.
What do they call a case like this that sets the path for other cases in the future?
As this judge has stated several times in open court, This case here has major national implications. And that's what I'm telling the homeless people. This isn't about just the people here. When you get these stories out and they can find this is what's happened to you is typical of what happens across the country. So when this case is influenced, it's going to influence what happens everywhere. And we're watching this judge from our legal standpoint be so cautious to make sure that he cannot get overruled on appeal. And these crazy attorneys from the city are so stupid as Henry, did you see one question not be challenged?
No.
I'll bet half of today was wasted with complaints. I don't like this because they always use the same shit. It's like, you ever watch Stephanie Miller, okay, when she hits the button and it goes, ha, 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 okay, on TV? Well, why is she even talking? She should just have a little thing there with a button with like 3 or 4 little things. Oh, one, it's time for this complaint. And it's because of this, da, 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 da. Oh, that one, that's number 3. Ding, ding, ding. You know, it's like a little parrot. Oh, you want me to do number 1? And they just, it's everything's the same. It's not even creative. And you watch them getting so frustrated. And to be personal, we're running a lot of psychological warfare on these people so far over their head they don't even know what's happened, don't you think, Wayne? They never operated where we have they, buddy?
But
There you go.
the worst thing is these terrible lawyers today representing the city.
Yeah.
So they're basically representing us, the taxpayers, against ourselves.
Yep.
So we're paying a bunch of money.
What would you estimate? Like 10,000? Tell them.
Oh, no, this is $5,000 an hour for that guy.
They
For
go,
that guy, he's 5 G's an hour, baby.
it's got to be
The cheapest
Six-
guy is
six
$5
figure.
to $800 an hour.
6
The
figures,
researcher is
7
$500 to
figures
$800
when it gets done. 800-900 an hour.
Just a researcher.
The assistant could be 600-700 an hour, and they had 11
That's
attorneys.
standard.
Okay, so the city uses our taxpayer money to hire these high gun lawyers to represent the people of the city of Los Angeles against the people of the city of Los Angeles.
I'll bet we were watching
So-
$40,000 a day
Yeah.
disappearing.
They're fighting the people so that they're not accountable where $2 billion got stolen.
Yep.
And we're paying for that in our tax money. This is the sickest part about this shit, is that, you know, you've got a set of private plaintiff attorneys. They wanted a $16 million sanction. And originally this lawsuit called the Alliance was filed 5 years ago. And what it was going to be, it was just going to be a nice lawsuit with a bunch of property owners downtown. And their attorneys are going to get a big award of money for attorney fees. And then they were going to get the city to create a bunch of beds to house a bunch of homeless lunatics.
So their
And
property
then-
values would go up.
And then they were going to get some cash. That's the way the shit started.
But first, they filed
Okay.
because of property values.
Yeah.
And lowered rents.
Yeah.
These
the
people
first
aren't into civil rights
No.
or the loss of money. They're about property values. Only because they filed the lawsuit and we got lucky, this game is changing. And because what the three of us and some more have done down at City Hall before these particular periods of time and submissions we've made, and what we've been saying over the years, especially lately now, while this is happening and coming to a head, has caused them to go into this crazy mode because they only hired these people a week ago, which is after we dropped the hammer, right? We dropped the... dropped the hammer hard enough. For the first time anybody can remember, didn't we shut down City Hall for a week?
Yep.
And then this was all over the free speech issue. And then as soon as they came back in the next time, what did they say? We give.
Yeah.
So then what do? They spent 5 minutes sliming Herman. And Herman told me they started sliming me. And Wayne, hell, they put a gun in his mouth and a shotgun to the side of his head and tried to take his bar license.
No,
They've taken my health care. And I know several people they've killed through my time. One friend of mine, to stop him, they had somebody with a 45 blow his son's head off with a wife and 2 young kids. So I went to that funeral. And then the dad had 3 heart attacks, and I got to go to the next one. And I'll tell you, one of my long-term goals is I want to get those motherfuckers busted, because I would love to, before I die, to see that wife and those kids and go, it took this long, but we got the bitch.
yeah. See, another thing that's
Homicides are not good.
another major problem is the media in this city.
Why aren't they here?
Why aren't they fucking here?
Not
So
one
they
person.
are not making this front page news. They're putting this in the back
Everything's a scam.
on YouTube videos, and they're going back a day behind. Okay, they're not here doing live coverage. So like
And they used to always do it.
yeah, see, I was involved with something, the other day in a court that was a scandal. And one of these traditional media people interviewed me for half an hour. They put the article out tonight. I'm not mentioning one syllable. This is what they do. So Channel 4, Channel 2, Channel 7, Daily News, LA Times, all of these scumbags are complicit with these
But
guys.
what were they in this court for the last time?
Yeah,
Who's that
Yeah.
pop star?
yeah.
Oh, they were here for her.
Oh yeah. See, like
You
one
mean
of
bullshit over nothing?
one of these main reporters was sitting in the back. Heidi Feinstein, the city attorney, goes up to him and hugs the fucking reporter, and starts talking to him. Oh, and I mean, this is your fucking journalism. So the journalism, they print what City Hall wants them to say.
They're a promotion agency. They're a PR agency.
They stick to the narrative, so they have access to these dirtbags. See, so they don't. The TV stations, they don't want to piss them off. The print media, they don't want to piss them off.
I've been to all of them in
And-
print with all these
Yeah.
dirty deeds
Yeah.
and huge
They don't-
amounts of
yeah.
backup.
They don't want to piss them off. They want to.
Nationally, I've been to these fucks.
That's what it is.
They won't do it,
They won't do it.
no matter what. They act like they're taking on big issues, but they're like pissant money. Let's face it. Huizar's one of the biggest money deals so far. It's $2.5 million. What the fuck is that to billions? So take down the Huizar, make it look like a bust. You remember how these drug guys would do it? They'd go, hey, we'll do you a deal, man. You let us like bring our shit in, and we'll give you a ton here and a ton there, and diversion, right? But the real shit is like, okay, 50 tons got in, so we give away a ton. We lost 2%, big fucking deal.
Big like a little.
Big deal, 2%, so what? This is business. And they got a bunch of suckers because they've trained the public to be stupid. When I went to school, I didn't go to public school. But my friends that went to public school, they took civics and they would bring them to City Hall at least once so they could watch a meeting to get an idea of how it works. You wonder why they're shitty drivers now? Well, when I went to school, since I was in private school, I couldn't get a driver's license unless I went to Monroe High School and took driver's ed, or I wasn't getting a driver's license. Now, if they just give it to anybody who gives a shit. So all these people are driving around with their phones, bouncing off of buses and crap, man. Just ride the bus sometime,
Yeah, look
people,
up.
and watch the foolishness that goes on.
Okay, for example, I just go to YouTube, okay?
Yeah.
And I Google, homeless, LA City homeless news. So nothing about today. But 1 hour ago, KCAL, LA budget deficit threatens future of free shower program. And so their big story here is they're going to cut a provider, a homeless provider, out of a contract that gives free showers for the homeless. Okay, so what they're doing is spinning what's happening here to make the providers that have
Look
been
like they're doing
pocketing all
something.
fucking money, that making the providers look like the good guys. So like they're saying, oh,
Aren't they such
the
good
mean
people?
the mean evil city council's cutting the budget so these people can't get free showers. Okay, so that's now they're bending the narrative now. They're starting to bend the narrative now, so that when this judge starts screwing them and saying, I'm taking over the money, now they can turn the media against him later.
Put a receiver in charge. That's what they're fighting.
And then say the court's trying to steal our right of representation. How Donald Trump says. Say watch this. Say watch this. The city council will be saying later, even though I disagree with him, Donald Trump has one thing that he's right about. The court shouldn't be doing this. We, the elected people, we, the elected officials, should be deciding these questions, not some court.
We have the mandate.
We didn't steal anything. We're trying to help people. See, already they're twisting the media tonight by showing that the budget got cut for homeless showers. I mean, who's going to be against the homeless getting showers? So that's what their big story is
Don't
tonight.
give a fuck if they're housed.
Not-
Don't give a fuck if they have services.
Not what would happen in here, not the fact that this woman who makes $500,000 skimmed over the audit. No, that didn't make the news. This makes the news. So that's how they do it. They got the media in their fucking pocket.
Diversion.
And they've been having the media in their pocket, and they're very careful of media. They'll cover homeless encampments. They'll cover fires. They'll cover cleanups. But they're very careful how they do it. They do it in a way to make it look like the city council and the mayor can't control it, that it's not in their control, that it's an out of control poverty issue. Okay? So this is what they're doing tonight. That's why you didn't see hardly any reporters. You saw Channel 4 had a reporter here. Okay? And they get back to the studio, and then they go, well, shit, are we going to run this story? Hell no! They want to call Mayor Bass as a witness. They're like,
She's our bud.
we're not going to go against her.
We'll lose these other stories.
They'll kick us out of City Hall. One of these guys has a free office right behind the council chambers.
Holy shit.
One of these assholes that was in here today, a media asshole, has got his own private fucking room right off to the side behind City Hall with a view. And he commandeered that all to himself. There's a media room, and he's got his own private office. One time I
How'd you
opened
get that?
the door, and he slammed it in my face. Okay? And he's a reporter. And this is the one that our city attorney was walking up to and giving a hug. So we got our city attorney giving this guy a hug. We know he gets a free office here. Okay? So he gets his own little private office. And he sits there during the council meetings. You'll see him in there. And he watches the meeting on a monitor. And then he'll walk in, and he has a little ID badge, okay, that exempts him from being searched. He can just walk in anytime he wants at City Hall. Okay? So this is the media that reports on City Hall. They are so in the fucking pocket. Now, if they start doing real journalism, he ain't going to get that office no more. No, it's a shitty looking
But he
office.
might get a Pulitzer.
It's a shitty looking office, but hey, free office space with your own refrigerator and your own monitor and access to anybody in City Hall is access. That keeps the guy.
If you'll print bullshit.
That keeps the guy employed. That's his fucking job. Okay, so that's one example. You know, and he slams the door and he locks it because one time I got in there and I took pictures in there, you know, and he shoved the, out of it. And how much is he paying for that space? Zero. Okay, so that's one example of this weasel. And he walks in with this attitude. He'll walk in with this smirk on his face, this mean look all the time on his face, like he's somebody so goddamn fucking important to like get out of my way, you know. And he's walking back and forth, and so that's why the media, for years, has been spinning the news. And they don't go and show you what they're doing. And that's why most people don't really know.
It started more than 10 years ago.
But now you have bloggers. Now you have something called bloggers. And these bloggers are starting to take and pick up news, and they're covering
blowing off the standard media.
they're covering local news. They're covering stuff like this shit. And they're not getting paid nothing for it except ads, you know. And so
They're
now
making lots of money on YouTube.
No, yeah, but now you got platforms, and people are hungry for this news. They want to see this shit. And now the ratings in traditional media are plummeting. They're going down like
No
crazy.
credibility.
They're firing journalists at the LA Times. They fired over 150 people last year. They fired another 12 this year. Okay? So people want the news. And the people that can provide the news can't provide the news because they don't want to piss off the people in charge. So you have the void being filled by these bloggers. So you see, that's the thing, is that, you know, you're getting people with 10, 15,000 clicks a day just covering a stupid meeting.
That's a small guy.
All right, that's a little guy, okay? And so now people are starting to pick up on it now. And they're watching these criminals.
And
they
just
say,
started, they got 1 million.
yeah, so now,
Midas Touch is going at 5 million.
yeah, so now what's happening is the city is getting exposed through these new media that they have no control over. So they're losing the grip on the narrative. They're losing their lockstep control. And this is one of the things that's causing problems at City Hall. So now what's going to happen with this money is if the judge takes the money over, then the way that they're cleaning up homeless encampments is going to change.
Which means putting it in a receivership.
Right. So he puts it in a receivership. The first thing he's going to do, he's going to go under the freeways, and he's going to clear all the homeless
And
out
let's
of
not
all
forget,
the underpasses.
It wasn't a receivership.
No, it's a federal takeover.
No. Homeless was in a receivership.
Yeah.
But you know why that receiver's gone?
Yeah. Homeless housing. Right.
No.
Homeless housing.
The reason the receiver is gone because my friend Mary Jacobs, who died from fentanyl, in her case, I prepared a major legal argument for the judge that's in the court record. And then she's a real hustler and made contacts at the LA Times and got him to run the story. And she called me and said, do you mind if I give the Times your legal analysis? And obviously what happened is they took all the information that she'd given along with the legal analysis and started doing some real research. And they threw that guy out.
Then the best part.
So I don't know what the hell. So they're probably running on their own right now because they got rid of the receiver, right?
Yeah.
So now they're trying to prevent Bass and Marchese from testifying and prevent a new receiver by running out the time on this judge because we heard him pull that, and the judge, and now today, because of the way they're trying to that's why they're arguing every fucking deal. We just figured out what it is, just sitting here.
Stall.
They
Stall.
they did this today in spite of pissing off the judge, because in their minds they don't give a shit if they run out the clock. How about that? Now we got this going out in the public. Ha ha ha. And I got to get moving because
Yeah.
I got to get home and get back up
Oh,
again.
lights are on. One more thing. This
Yeah.
one,
There
this
you go.
woman, Mary Jacobs. So they owned a very nice duplex, paid off.
Prime piece of property.
Beautiful
worth
piece of art.
$550,000.
It's probably worth $2 million. So now, the county started making housing violations to repair it. They couldn't afford the repairs. Then they tried to do it.
She got a contractor.
She got a contractor. So what
And
happened?
they kicked him out.
So what happened? They put a lien on the property, and then they lost the property by a sale, a forced
And
sale.
The receiver goes in.
The
Here's how they
receiver.
do it. The receiver goes in
Yeah.
and runs up the cost dramatically, like what they charge for security and all this shit, and what they charge per hour, and they make up all these things. So what they do is, while you're in court, they're running up so many charges. They came after her for another $200,000 after they took the property. I remember being in court. They wanted another 200.
Yeah.
Only she got back 30.
30. when they
Yeah,
got-
big deal.
So what happened was, she had a disabled husband, a wheelchair. So then, after all
Oh,
this
we got
battle,
to say this.
the guy wound up dead. Tell him
Some
about it.
people took Rollin, her former husband, who had problems, okay?
Yeah.
And the police went and looked for him. They found this man with his feet sticking out of a trash can. That's how they found him.
Yep. Yep.
And then, when COVID started, I busted these fucks' line about that nobody died from COVID in that goddamn place when 3 people had already died. That drove them crazy. Everything these people do, I wish it wasn't this way, but everything they do is a big goddamn lie. And it's all about porking contractors, because how do these fucks get elected? Think of what it cost for this soda witch to get elected. You have to promise these people you'll wipe their rear. Well, you ain't getting the bucks, man. Just look at Trumpler. Here's the real problem. I'm going to tell you why the Democrats didn't get elected. Trump, I call him Trumpler because he's a Nazi pig from hell, okay? He is filthy and nasty. Did he lie about what he is? No. He told us the truth, the ugly truth. Now let's take the Dems. We love you. We don't steal your money. We don't fuck with you. Now people don't know what we know, but they know that there's something wrong with this shit. And people really don't like liars, whether they're bitches or nice guys. They just don't like liars, okay? So they don't really know why, but they know these Democrats were lying to them. Because look at the largest cities, New York, Chicago, and LA. They're the rottenest shitholes around. In fact, Garland's DOJ, August 2024, in the New York Times said, LA is the most criminal city in the United States because it's bought and sold by contractors and developers. This ain't me. This is Merrick Garland's DOJ. Under Biden, not Trump and Bondi. Okay? So what do you think this all is? If any of you know anything about the Chicago schools, and I've been following Chicago schools since '90. I even had their former chief financial officer send me a signed copy of their friggin' budget, which somebody broke in and stole, but luckily I'd scanned the pertinent pages. Like they broke into my house and stole my computer. And guess how arrogant these fuckers are? They copied the drive, destroyed it, broke back in, and put my computer on the fence around the pool pump because we have a super beautiful place. I mean, you've never seen a place like where I fucking live, man. We have the largest fucking pool, and we don't want no ugly ass pool pump fucking up the look at our backyard. So G's out there playing around in the garden. He goes, Hey, George, I found your computer. And I go out there, the fucking computer's sitting on the fence.
Right on the fence. They center on the fence.
So I got to go down to my computer guy and have him put a digital drive in it, and now it can be fixed, but it'd take a couple grand. So I've saved them. But I had it backed up. They had to come in with night vision because there's a window from that room to my bedroom, and I sleep facing that window. They turn on a light, I'm up. I sleep with a fucking axe, and I know how to throw one and a knife. I know how to track. I know how to throw an axe and knife. I don't need no motherfucking gun.
Last thing, explain to people about the separation of who controls the marshals for federal courts.
Oh, this is a big one that's coming down. That's really important. Every 6 months, 200 of the top federal judges nationally all meet in a judges conference to discuss what's going on with the courts, security, all the things that they have to deal with, in the line of doing business, which Wayne would be really familiar with, way more than me. So they've watched how the DOJ has changed, because the DOJ now controls the federal marshals. And as our friends on these blogs who really know their shit, like Littman and the famous judge who's commenting all the time now, and these guys that really know their stuff are going, oh, George Conway's the big guy on this, okay? He's the one that's brought up, George Conway, that the federal marshals are controlled by the DOJ. So if a federal judge says you're breaking an order, and he tells a marshal to do something, and Palm Bondi tells the marshal, don't do it, the courts don't mean shit. So the judges are going, we think we're going to move the marshals to protect us under the judge's authority.
That's the new battle.
Because these guys are getting serious threats right now. These people are running down their home addresses. They're leaving the pizza messages, that they didn't order. They're letting them know, we know where you and your family are, and we know these people are crazy, violent fools. So if you're a federal judge, and most of them, I don't know, Wayne, do you think most of them are pretty honest? Or try to be?
Most try to be.
Give them
Okay. So most try to
Most
be.
try to be.
Okay.
Most try to be.
A lot more than Superior Court, right?
A lot more.
Okay, so it's
A
dramatic.
lot
Look,
more.
there's
A lot
bad
more.
shit everywhere, okay? It's how much do you have? It's like there's always going to be fraud and theft. At what ratio is it? And if anybody knows history, and I would say to you all, go study China's history of what has made every empire in history crash for the last 7,000 years. It's the billionaires at the time, and it's the corruption. And every time the emperor forgets about the people, there's a revolution, and one of those guys from the bottom that was a guy in a rice field puts together an army, and over time, they're called the Righteous Army. That's their phrase for it. Through history, it is normal for an empire to crash every 250 to 280 years. The Ottoman Empire is an absolute anomaly at lasting 800 years. And if you want to know about the beginning of that, go watch Erdogan on Netflix if you can still get it, because that's about the father of the first caliph and the grandfather. In fact, during that Syrian-Turkish war, the grandfather was buried in Syria, but that area around that grave was actually Turkish soil. So when they took that section, They unburied them and took them back to Turkey.
Wow.
Anyway, just a little history lesson,
We'll wrap it
and
there.
we got to go.
Yeah, that's it. No, the
Any
thing.
last words or?
Well,
Yeah, what do you got for a closer, Wayne?
well, the big thing in revolutions, the Shah of Iran, Shah Reza,
Yep.
he lays buried in Egypt. They couldn't even bring his body back to Iran. So, and the U.S. backed him. So our country has been going around the world for a long time. Revolutions,
Created them.
backing dictators, backing stupid people. And now, what do you got? You got the American Empire now, and it's getting around 280 years in, and it's
250.
it's getting around that
It's
time.
250 this month. Next month.
This country's done for as a historical context.
If it keeps up this way.
No, it's it's going to fall, and then what's going to happen? It'll divide itself into several different countries, and this is what Trump is trying to do with Canada. He's smart enough to know what's going to happen. So what he's going to do is he's going to try to get more land, try to grab Canada, try to grab Greenland, go down to Central America and grab the Panama Canal. He knows that we have put ourselves in debt up the asshole. So the only way that we can expand is to take land. And if we take the land, we take the resources. That's why he's going over to
That
Ukraine.
creates a world war.
He's going over to Ukraine to sign a deal where they give us all the mineral rights to Ukraine in exchange for defense. So Zelensky won't sign the deal. So what happens?
Well, they signed it for half.
Well, so what happened? Russia's bombing the shit out of them again. Okay,
Wait,
so
here's what's funny.
that's what
Those
it is.
minerals are on
There.
what Russia holds right now, because that's where they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, but see, the thing is that we're all of this stuff in this country and the poor, all these homeless you have. Nobody is addressing the problem of how they got on the streets. We got to stop more people getting to the streets and keep the people housed that we got now.
And that's why we need these stories from those people.
Yeah.
So we can crack the code.
And it's the opposite. We're having a pipeline where more people are going to wind up with homeless.
As they take the
And-
money away
and-
and these people lose their
Right.
jobs through these tariffs and everything,
One
we
more-
don't even know what tragedy is.
One more great recession, you'll have another 3-4 million people on the streets,
I got another.
wiped out. So we have to deal with the problem of not having those people fall into a situation where they wind up on the streets. Because if we have another 10,000 here, they'll burn the city to fucking ground. That's what they're almost burning it to the ground now. And so they know that what's going on here is this judge is going to contain it. They don't want that. But they know that this judge is the only one that has a solution. So
They
what?
don't
So but you don't get reelected. So you see, if you don't get that homeless money and you're not giving it to nonprofits, when you run for reelection,
You don't have campaign finance?
you don't have your campaign money. And if you don't have $1 million, $2 million to run for reelection, you don't get reelected. So that's the fucking problem, is that the money laundering operation that keeps these people in power has now failed to do its job. And they're getting called out, and everybody, so they stole $2 billion. It's like, what they didn't realize is everything goes in cycles, and they figured, hey, the voters will pass more taxes, and
We'll just pass another bond.
we'll just paper over it. We'll get the money from Sacramento. And so they went up to Sacramento, and they got cut off. Gavin's not given a dime. But we found out today that Eunice Hernandez, city councilwoman, got a Sacramento grant for people living underneath the freeway
Just
passes.
got it.
Okay, so some of these council members are getting money from Sacramento for their little districts.
Because they're buds.
They're bypassing the mayor to do that. And we found that out today.
Yep.
So more to come.
Tomorrow.
So stay tuned.
I
There's
got-
going to be
I
more
got one.
tomorrow.
This is the last thing,
We're gonna get
and this is really important.
Yeah.
Wayne was talking about how they're creating this. I'm going to give you the key to what's happening. I did a 20-year spreadsheet on LA Unified. Do you know what I found? 300,000 students not in school. I also found that when I took the enrollment and ADA, in other words, ADA is what they pay on, they don't lie about the pay money because that'll put them in prison. They lied about enrollment to make it look like a 5% truancy, not 28 to 30% truancy. And just 2 days ago in EdSource, you people better be sitting down about what's really getting ready to come down. Already, across the state of California, the percentage of homeless students in our California schools just lately is up 9%. And the shit ain't hit the fan yet. Now, where do you think it's going to go when this stuff hits the fan
Can't let it.
and there's no more jobs, no more food, losing houses, losing cars, losing their families? Right now, Kaiser is training 1,100 people for their psychological department, and right down the street from my house, UCLA is putting up a giant new psychiatric hospital. Dude, they don't have enough space for all the crazy people coming. Because you put people through that, this is a nightmare. And with that, we'll wait to see what the fuck happens tomorrow. Here, I gotta get the bus and get home.
That bus, man.
All right, guys. Till next time. Peace out.
Wow, this